Okay, ladies. I feel like I'm so honored because I feel like I'm introducing a lot of OGs and cool folks. Not that everybody else hasn't been cool, but like I'm just happy to be here to be your host this afternoon. The next speaker is Mannie Young. Mannie is one of the people I admire in the Python community a lot. He's the founder of the Python Ghanaian community. When he's not being a superstar, Mannie is actually a computer scientist and a software developer, a co-organizer, a PyCon conference organizer, and also the chair for PyCon Africa. And he also has won the PSF Fellow Award for upskilling Pythonistas in Africa. Without further ado, everybody, welcome Mannie Young. Give it up!
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you Aisha for the introduction, and I also want to thank the organizers for actually having me here today. Um, so like she said, my name is Mannie Young. I'm actually a software developer and also a community builder. I'm from Accra, Ghana, the western part of Africa. And I actually am the co-executive of the Python software community in Ghana. And under the Python software community, we have initiatives and then the user groups. So the initiatives we have are PyLadies Ghana, Data Science, and PyData Ghana, PyClubs, and PyScholars. We happen to be pipelines initiatives under the community. And then we have various user groups around the country. Yeah, and I'm a fellow of the Python Software Foundation. I won the Community Service Award in 2019, and also I'm part of the Diversity and Inclusion work group. I'm also an individual member of the Django Software Foundation as well, and an organizer of PyCon Ghana, and also an organizer of PyCon Africa. So today I'll be speaking about more than just code, how community building shapes the future of the language. And I think things I'll touch are basically the past of the community, a little bit of the present, and also some initiatives we locally are actually looking out for the future as well. So the first thing we all know, as in all of us here, we know that the Python software programming language is actually an open source software. And if you look at it, open source softwares are actually powered by the community. So the community actually plays a major role in this open source software. So now let's just try and look at what a community is all about. I think we all know there are different definitions of what a community is, but just for this context, I will just look at this, that actually a community is actually a group of people who live in actually the same area, share common interests, and actually have either the same purpose or identify on a particular thing. And just going to the beginnings of the Python programming language, we all know that the software started in the early 90s, and we had the previous talk that took us through the early stage of the Python programming language. And in different conferences, I've heard people say that Python is not just a language, it is a community. And they also say that I came for the language, but stayed for the community. And one thing I've heard in so many places is that the community, or the Python programming community, is really welcoming in various parts around the world. And that's why I think later on in the talk, we'll see the effect of what this community is doing. One thing that brought us here, as in everyone sitting here today, is actually the love for the Python programming language. We've been in various conferences, we've met different people, but at the end of the day, the one thing that brought us together is the Python programming language. So I will just try and talk about a little quote I have here that says, all great things actually have small beginnings. So the next slide I will just try and show us is the very first gathering of the Python community that happened in the way back 2002 was actually in EuroPython. And this was actually, I think, their first logo for the EuroPython in 2002. And we'll take a look at the EuroPython today, which they just had in 2023. You can see they had over 1,000 people together. Also, we'll look at, I think, the beginning of the PyCon US, when they started and had their first in 2003. And if we also take a good look at the PyCon US of today, it actually has also grown as well. I would also show the humble beginnings of PyCon APAC, that it had their first in 2010. And I think their last in-person meeting was in 2019. And I think the previous ones have been virtual. And I believe this year they'll be meeting in person again. Yeah, and I won't talk about humble beginnings if I don't talk about the continent I'm from. So PyCon Africa, we had our first PyCon in 2019 that was hosted in Accra, Ghana. And last but not least, I will then show ourselves here today, PyCon MEA, which was announced in the year 2022. So these are all humble beginnings of different Python software communities around the world. So now the effect of the communities around the world actually is going to have a ripple effect. And last year, 2022, and also this year, 2023, we've seen that the Python programming language actually is the #1 when it comes to popularity. And well, I would want to say that the community played a major role in this. We have community members who actually, after coming to conferences, they ended up seeing problems that were actually happening in different areas. They started providing solutions. Some group of people maybe worked on something that ended up becoming Django, which is a web framework. We know of Pandas, we know of PyTouch. We also heard about PyScripts, I think during the week. We also heard about fast APIs, and these are all Python libraries that people are using around the world that contributes to making Python very popular. And also when it comes to education or people learning, we also have things like Real Python and also other resources around the world that you can find on YouTube and online that can help you in your training. Then I would want to talk about the diversity aspect also as well, that some groups are also playing in the community. We know of PyLadies, actually, which is a global diversity group that brings different ladies all around the world. We've heard of Transcode and also Django Girls. I'll be talking about a success story after this. And, but before then, I just want to talk about the diversity and inclusion work group that I stated I was part of. And this is actually a work group, and the purpose of the work group is to support and facilitate the growth of the diverse international community. And I think Iqbal is here, and I think I met some of other work group members, and we'll be meeting regularly to see how we can have the Python software programming language represented all around the world in every continent and every place, I think even up to Antarctica as well. So a success story about community. And I'm picking Abigail for a reason. This is Abigail. I believe some of us already might know her from the DjangoCon US and everywhere. But Abigail actually started as a mentee in the year 2017 in the Django Girls. And this was her very first time, I think, maybe getting involved in the community. Then later on, she ended up becoming a mentor. So from a mentee, she became a mentor, training other people as well. And it got to a point, she was the only lady among several guys who were actually traveling around Ghana, introducing Python to people using the Django Girls program. Then later on, that now gave birth to Django, the PyLadies Ghana group. We spoke to Abigail and tried to make her understand what PyLadies was all about, and she came on board to lead PyLadies Ghana. And I would say PyLadies Ghana today is one of the most active diversity groups in the country. And I believe if you go online, check Google, Twitter and everything, you see how active they've been. Now, this growth process actually have led somewhere that today, and just I think this week, the same Abigail who started as a mentee was now, or is a keynote speaker. And she spoke as a keynote speaker in the DjangoCon US that just happened this week. So this is an example of one person who started from the beginning, and today is really contributing on the high stage. Um, I would now want to talk about some of the challenges and also some of the opportunities we've had. And some of these things, please, will just be unique to our community and have been the experiences I've gotten leading Python Ghana over there. And I would think these are just some, keeping up to the demand. I would say in Africa, the tech scene is actually now really increasing. And I would say over there in Ghana, you have a lot of demand of people wanting to come on board. So a lot of people are rushing to come to the community. They want to learn Python. Where should they start from? And we, the community, are trying to come up with various initiatives and various things to actually help this growing demand. And I'll speak about some of them later on. And also the next will be ensuring diversity. We have PyLadies Ghana, which actually is trying to bridge the gap when it comes to gender in the community over there in Ghana. I would say we actually are going the extra mile trying to introduce these to ladies, because I won't say all ladies are actually interested in tech. A lot of them are actually scared of technology. When you mention tech, they think tech are for the guys or for those who are the nerds. So we are really trying to see how we can actually encourage more of them. So we actually do trainings and all that. And I think the last points basically would be the financial support. And I think that is also something a lot of people also experience in one way or the other. Next would be a quote also I picked from John, which says, "Every challenge is an opportunity in disguise." This leads me to two initiatives we had under the Python software community in Ghana. So I think there was a time, I think way back in 2018-19, the PSF actually called for Python in education. And looking at the demography we have as a community, we noticed that a lot of our members were actually students. So a lot of them were students. So that now brought the question, that, okay, so what are we going to do to address this issue we are having as a community? Along the line, we had the initiative of calling Pi Clubs, which basically what Pi Clubs was, or the idea of Pi Club was to have an open hub on campus for students to come together, collaborate, and learn Python and also other related technologies. We started this with the PSF, I think when Eva was the director. These are things we've been discussing with her. We had the pilot phase as well. And I think I also have a lot of people here who have also contributed to majority of the things we've been doing. Now, people were bothered. I think some people are actually asking about sustainability. So how are you going to sustain this, for example, on campus? And I think we just came up with this little sketch of maybe from the year 1 to maybe year 4. And I was like, okay, if maybe I'm a year 1 student and I join maybe an institution and there's a Pi Club on campus, I start, going through the training or the curriculum we are having. Then when I move to year 2, I've now moved from the learning stage to the reinforcement stage. So also moving to the next stage also gives me an opportunity to volunteer as a mentor and end up training people who are also now beginners as year 1s too as well. And this loop end up continuing. So when I move to the year 3, I might maybe have completed some things, or maybe working on projects, but also those who are now from the year 2 end up moving to year 3. Then the year 2 students are still helping the year 1 students. So we have that loop where at the end of the day, when I'm in year 4, I've gone through that process of mentoring people under me. I've also gained necessary skills, because from mentoring, they say the more you teach, the better you understand. So from teaching the younger peers, I'm also getting better in the programming language. And we're also maybe attending meetups together. We're also having different projects we're working on, open source and all that. Now, some of the benefits of the Pi Clubs initiative that we are trying to work on. One of it is the skill development. And it's going to give students the opportunity to enhance their knowledge in programming. Now, on the institution, sometimes some courses actually don't teach programming, But you end up seeing that some students who find themselves in this course might be interested in programming. So for example, someone who might be studying microbiology, you don't, or you may not have programming as one of the courses you may have. Now, having a Pi club, for example, on campus can give that person the opportunity to join the clubs and also meet maybe those in the computer science department or those maybe in the mathematical department that are doing programming and learn from each other. Now, I'm having code grades there because the question came of, and not just only with regards to Pi clubs, even something that happens with our community is how do you get to know the level where a particular person fall under. We've had that questions. People will be like, I've been learning Python. How do I know if I'm a junior developer or I've moved to an intermediate level or I've moved to an expert level? So I think Nick spoke about the code grades and how we would be, introducing our students or introducing the members of our communities to code grades to go through the program so that when they maybe get to a particular grade, they can get to know that, okay, if I'm in grade 5, I'm in intermediate level. Or maybe when I get to grade 8, maybe I'm now equipped to what I can say, okay, I'm an expert. So skill development. The next will be networking. And I think I've already touched on that, where different fields, maybe someone doing biology, someone doing animal husbandry, end up meeting with other related students because of the love of Python. Then the last will be industrial exposure, which will be, we're planning to give students the opportunity to also have things like maybe internship opportunities. So Pi Labs as a whole will be reaching out to maybe some institutions out there to say that, okay, we have students who maybe are equipped, but maybe they want maybe internship opportunities. Can they have internship opportunities? And I think one organization that we already are talking with and are also open to have such things is actually Talent Co-op. So now existing Pi Lab students are currently actually having mentorship programs where some people from Talent Co-op are currently mentoring these students during their holidays. Now, I would just want to explain the whole process we've been working on as a community. So the whole idea as a community we are looking at, so let's say, for example, our use Python Ghana, we want to get to a point where when you're in high school, or if I'm a high school student, I'll be introduced maybe the basics of Python, or maybe a little bit of what programming is all about in Python. And now when I graduate from high school and I go to the tertiary institution, I will then end up meeting the Pi clubs on campus to continue my growth in this particular programming language, which is Python. So now I find community as a whole when I get to the tertiary institution. And now when I'm done with my tertiary institution, when I'm done with school, and I now graduate and become a professional, I then get to also meet the Python user groups in the locality, or as a whole, the Python community. So now the idea here is, if, for example, we have Pi clubs in a locality, if, for example, we have Pi scholars in a locality, let's say, for example, here in Dubai, we have maybe universities here, and we have maybe Pi clubs in some of these universities. Automatically, the Python user group in Dubai would also have these students as members of their user groups. So that's the whole idea we're trying to come up with. So now we then see the progress of the Python community from the high school to the user groups that we are having. So now in conclusion, and I'll be concluding here, I said the nucleus of the community is Python. And the reason we are all gathered here today is because of the same Python programming language. Now, a solid community is what will determine the trajectory Python will take in the future. And the success of this project, which we all love, is dependent on you and me. And I wanted to end it with the statement, it's community. And I will just say, thank you for listening to my talk. And also, thank you for having me here too once more, because this is my first time actually speaking. I've always been organizing, but thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Manny. I feel like I feel so many things, but Manny is one of those people that like to stay on the background and actually do the work, not just announce and take pictures. He does the work. And I'll be like, you can get out there, you gotta go to, and I'm happy he finally chose Pacon Mayor to make his debut. So thank you so much, Manny. Questions. We actually have quite a bit of questions. Yeah. Sorry, time for questions.
Hi again. I wanted to talk to you about the maybe the age of extinction of universities as they were, because as my experience as an university student, we lost a lot of times to learn something that are useless for us and also for industry. And I wanted to ask you, are there any thing or I don't know, any plans to make this as a global university to learn something is useful for our passions and also for the industry too? Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't get a question. So is it more of making it a global initiative?
Exactly.
Yes, that's something we're actually working on, and we are even open to people who would want to actually also contribute as a whole. We've, for some years now, been working with people like Nick, Eva, and the rest. So the whole idea is to see how maybe we can scale Pike clubs and also other things. So we are open to people also contributing as well.
Hi, Mannie. It's not so much a question, but I think it should be recorded. But I've been involved in Python in education for well over 10 years. I've seen it in lots of different countries. But just so that everybody knows, what you've just seen happening in Ghana is the best that I've ever seen. And if you want to develop a community, you need the long-term thinking that Mannie embodies. And I'm shocked that this is your first time speaking because you are also such a natural speaker. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. And I can say this for sure. The Python Nigeria community we're taking notes and learning from the Ghanaian community. Thank you, Manny. Questions? Oh, yes. Oh, thank you.
Hello. You speak a lot about diversity, and I wanted to know whether you have any program or had thought about programs that attract groups that are not traditionally paid attention to. For example, adults who are already in professional careers, maybe women who have been out of workforce for a very long time because they focused on childcare.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Just put it closer to the...
Sorry. I wanted to know, you speak a lot about diversity, and I wanted to know whether you have any programs or have thought about creating any that would focus on individuals who are already in professional careers but for whatever reason want to change or haven't had opportunity to be in workforce for a long time, such as mothers, for example, who have been in childcare for a long time and they want to come back and maybe change to a different career. Is there anything like that out there?
Okay, so what I know for the question you asked is the Python actually have user groups in different localities. So for example, in your region, you might have maybe a Python user group, and depending on maybe how they operate, you can maybe get to meet them when you're having a particular meetup, and when you get to meet some of the organizers, you then maybe let them know that, okay, maybe you are trying to come back, or maybe you are trying to come into a phase. But if they are partially, I say groups that are actually focused, for now, I don't think I've heard of any, maybe for coding for mothers or something like that. But maybe we can maybe do a research later on, but I don't know.
Yeah, you forgot Pi Ladies though.
Okay, yeah,
Ladies
Pi
Ghana
Ladies.
focuses on not just ladies, but like women,
In
that
general.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so Pi Ladies, for example,
Yeah.
is open to all, so yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Questions?
And to even add, actually, Pi Ladies are having their first conference this year.
Yeah.
So those of you who will be actually interested, you can just check it out. So I think it's Pi Ladies Con. I think it will be online, so you can check that out as well.
Question.
Hi, Manny. This is Jatin. Most of my developers use Python for the AI purpose. The common problem that we face is slow speed, and along with that, mobile side computing. That is another that we are trying to run. And apart from that, the memory efficiency, if we are planning to build up the scale-up applications. So how Python community is evolving and coping up with these kind of challenges as compared to other languages like JavaScript and other.
So I didn't get the question, but did you?
The question is about like the efficiency of Python and things like that.
But what the role the community can play?
Yeah.
Basically, I'm talking about the slow speed memory optimization as well as mobile side rendering, how Python community is evolving and coping up with other languages like JavaScript. So just want to know your thoughts on that.
I can, so that question is for the PSF and the Python core community, and this talk is mostly on so sorry, we should take your questions and take it back to the community. But like, yeah.
I couldn't hear him.
No, that's okay. Like, yes. Yeah, question?
Well, I was just going to mention there was actually a talk yesterday specifically talking about efforts which were being undertaken under the umbrella of the PSF and the Core Foundation to continue to improve it. So being in the community helps us support and improve performance and other technical aspects. So,
Yeah.
Questions, comments, thoughts?
And also,
Yeah.
if you have the necessary skill to also even join the core, Python team, I think they are also welcome to have you on board. And I think that's also even how the community also end up benefiting from one another. So it's even a long-time vision. So for example, someone starting from PyScholars, we are hoping that when you're done with your university and you're in professional career, you might have gotten the necessary skills to even start joining the core developers as well.
Hi, this is Jawad here. I just want, it's not a question actually, it's just a suggestion. Because whatever we have learned in the childhood, it's remembered for the rest of the life. So please introduce some sort of thing that for the school guys, early schools, I'm talking about 5th grade, 6th grade. So they start learning about basics of Python. So by the end of matric or college studies, they have a proper grip on that. Because after 30, 35, you know, coding life is over. So this is my personal experience. So that's why I'm suggesting that if you introduce something for the kids, it will be really nice for us.
For the kids, I think that's where the PyScholars actually falls under. But it's still pipeline because we are focusing more of like Pi clubs for now, trying to also work on the curriculum for Pi clubs. And like I said, we are open to anyone who would want to come on board to help out draft a full curriculum for that, because we are not just trying to focus on just one thing, but also different fields as well.
Question?
Besides visiting Africa, what can we do to help?
Well, there are a lot of ways. So for example, for one of the major things would be financial support. I know why I'm putting that out there because I was part of the Deep Learning in Daba conference that just happened this year, and I noticed that majority of the funds they gathered, almost like $500,000, went to traveling aid, because traveling within Africa is really, really expensive. And I think Aisha said that yesterday in her talk. Traveling even out of Africa is much more, less than traveling within Africa. And to have things like the PyCon Africa happening, you really have to finance the grants for people to travel from one place to the other. And also, I think we're also open to have people to talk to the community as well. So for example, I know for Pi Clubs, we're trying to have a monthly virtual session where people from the international Python community end up talking to the future leaders of the Python community, because we all say the youth are the leaders of tomorrow, but I believe the leaders of tomorrow have to start learning the necessary skills that they will make use of in the future. So I think that's also another thing you guys will help us with.
Thanks. Questions? Hands? Anyone? All good? Oh.
Hi there. First of all, amazing work what you have done there. I absolutely like it. I'm also sort of endorsed with Google, but I focus more on the front-end side. But I would love to collaborate when it comes to making those Python developers really good at front-end as well. So let's connect after that.
Sure.
Thank you so
Definitely.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Questions? We have time for just one more. Any takers? Going once, going twice. Yes, we got a winner!
Okay, if there's one thing you could change, your moon on a stick request, what would it be?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
If there's one thing you could change, one thing that could happen to help you do the things that you need to do, what would that be?
Well, I would say it's more of collaboration. trying to see how we can collaborate with other communities. I think that's something I'm really big on. Even like I think I was discussing with someone about what we're trying to do even with PyCon Africa. So if there's one thing now I should change actually in the community, especially for example in Africa, is collaborating among each other as becoming one unit.
I'm so sorry, we don't have any more time for questions, but thank you so much. You can find Mannie